started using my Insta360 camera to take some time lapse. This is the first video. It's a little bit fast, but the later videos slowed down a little bit. Right now I'm cutting or marking to cut through the floorboard for the plate that mounts there. It allows the Teleflex cables to come from underneath the floorboards to hook into the controls. I need to cut the floorboards. It's a slot about 6 inches long. And then you have a plate that mounts with nut plates. So I have to countersink the plate that goes underneath and then use solid rivets to install the nut plates. The top plate is a little difficult to get the Teleflex cable into because it's kind of got to come up from underneath the floorboard and go parallel to the floorboard. So you kind of have to wrench it in there with a pair of pliers to get it down into the slot. And then there's a bolt that you place in there that keeps the Teleflex cables from popping up. Pretty interesting system to actuate the elevators, but I had it on a flap system on my previous aircraft and it worked pretty good. This photo gives better detail about how the Teleflex cables transition from under the floorboards to the torque tube. Both of those cables go to the elevator horn for redundancy. And then one thing I noticed about the rod ends that Badlands provides, they don't have that large washer, and that's provided by me. Whenever you have a rod end, you need to have a large washer on the outside in case the ball bearing slips out. And this is the elevator side. This is a little attached bracket that attaches the Teleflex cable on that side, and it's adjustable with those holes in the forward and rear position. One thing to note about the Teleflex cable on the elevator horn side is those A and 3 bolts may be blocked by the slot in the Teleflex cable, and you have to file a little bit of that out. I did have a little trouble with that, but once I filed the slot, it was fine and slipped right in and was able to mount them on that side. This video, I'm fitting the cargo door on the upper baggage. So they give you a long piece of hinge, and so you have to cut it to match the bottom of that door jamb. One thing that I did not see on the Badlands video, but I chose to incorporate, was making the hinge pin a little bit long and then bending it over so I can attach it so the pin won't come out during flight and lose your cargo door. The other thing is my door was a little bit too tall. I wasn't sure if I should put the top of the door at the center of the top tube or at the top, and I ended up looking at some other pictures, and it looks like now looking at the pictures it makes sense that your cargo door goes to the top of the aircraft, so it covers that top tube. And so there was a little bit of variation of my door, and I think that's due to the tubes that attach the stringers, maybe a little bit up or down. So I had to cut off just a little bit on the bottom of that cargo door to make it fit into that location. You don't do final riveting at this point. You're just drilling the holes and countersinking and getting everything ready. You want to do your fabric first, and then once your fabric's in place, then you can rivet the hinge on to the aircraft. On my build, I opted for the lower cargo door as well, and that one hinges to the tabs on the bottom longeron underneath the floorboard. You have to cut away for the seatbelt attached there, and then that's the hinge, which is an 1.5 inch aluminum hinge. So I cut away there at various areas I needed to cut away, and then installed that on the tabs. They also have a really cool looking foot plate there on that door that says Badlands Aircraft. The cargo door latches are really unique. They're kind of a push latch system, and they grab the sides of the door jambs. There's some fabricating I have to do with this latch, and I've got to contact Badlands to see what exactly is required. Next, I moved on to the rudder pedals. The first thing you have to do is get all the powder coat off of the base of the pedals so they can go into the brackets on the floorboards. You need to probably take off about a 3/4 of an inch of powder coat. Useful technique is to wrap the line with tape of where you want to take the powder coat off, and then use a hose clamp, kind of protect the tape and make a solid line of powder coat, and then use a wire wheel on it. I used a hand drill for the wire wheel, and that's not as effective. I needed to get my grinder from the hanger, put a wire wheel on it, and use that. Would have been much easier. The other thing you need to do is on the foot portion of the pedal and the base portion of the pedal, you need to drill out or ream out to a 1/2 inch for the pins. And that's this operation here. I used a reamer that's a 5,000 over and a drill bit, and you kind of have to wobble the foot pedal area because the two tubes that the pins go in are a little bit crooked, and you don't want the pins rotating in the center section. You want them rotating on the foot pedal section. An update to the original Badlands videos are the bases of the rudder pedals on the short stems that point to the outside. Used to be 2 different sizes for the rear and front pedals. Now they're all the same size, 1.25 inches. And the last thing before I end the video, the push rods that connect the rear and front rudder pedals. The lower ones are the black steel tubing, and they're already cut to final size and threaded. You just have to take the aluminum tubing and match the length, and then use a 10/32 tap to insert the threads. I'm going to make this a quick one and end it here. If you want a more detailed description, check out my builder's log on the EAA website. I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description. Thank you.